The million dollar question: how do entrepreneurs transition from self-employed to owning a business that turns a profit? My name is Chris Waters, and this podcast has the million dollar answer. Welcome to CEO Secrets. What's up, guys? It's your host, Chris Waters. Welcome to CEO Secrets. I am excited to have a real estate team lead and transformational coach on the show today, Greg Flanigan. Welcome to CEO Secrets. We're looking for some nuggets on how to scale into leaders and true CEOs. How are you doing today?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I think you got probably one of the better podcasts out there. I enjoy listening to it and been listening to it for a while now.
Well, fantastic. Well, we've got a lot of stuff to dive into. You've been obviously very successful as an agent, selling over 300 homes. Been recognized with tons of awards and the $1 Million Guild, and part of the ALC committee at KW in Charleston. And now you're helping folks that are kind of newer agents and trying to help them kind of transform into better agents. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate right there. We're still an active real estate agent. Have a small team. We're growing that team back up. Right now we have a total of three agents. We should have 5 by the end of the year. But and those agents are people that are just getting into the business, normally a second career person. So we're dealing with an older agent, somebody who already has experience in life and in business. And we're bringing them up through, teaching them that gap where you've got your state license, you've got your brokerage training, and then they go, here, go sell something. And they go out there and go, how the hell do I do that? And that's where I come in. And we help them transform into a big solo agent.
I asked you to share an interesting tidbit about yourself with me. And what you shared is that you spent 17 years and 36 days in prison.
Just a couple of days.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's a
really. Ask me the question. What'd you do?
Yeah, what happened, and tell everybody on the audience what happened, and what did you learn, and enlighten us.
Well, I'll tell you what I did.
Hell of an experience, by the way.
It's a great experience because it teaches you how to deal with people, and people that really don't care for you. Okay, back in 1980, I took a test, and I passed that test, and I got hired by a local sheriff's department in upstate New York, and then I took another test in '84. Got hired by the New York State Department of Corrections, where I spent the next, I think it was from 1980 to 1997, September. And I was a correction officer. Got promoted to sergeant, got promoted to lieutenant. And what that taught me over the years, and I worked with I know some pretty bad guys. I've fought with some pretty bad guys, wrestled around, a couple of busted knees, stabbed in the shoulder. I got my own little stories there, but I think the biggest thing I took away from there is how to talk to people without getting beat up, with how to talk to people and bring out what you need to know and understand from them, and getting to your eventual goal. Okay. Brought in a lot of what we used to call IPC, and that's interpersonal communication, or in the trenches, we called it I prefer combat. Okay. So it did form a lot of my negotiation skills.
It's kind of interesting. My father-in-law spent his entire career in the prison system as a correctional officer. And I think he got it later, kind of before he retired, just this past year. He was like an HR guy. But before that, he was in the trenches. And when he got out, when he retired, I guess actually when I met my wife and I was getting to know him, I felt like he was always looking over his shoulder.
Definitely.
Does that, and I don't know, sometimes I'm wondering, do you get like PTSD from that kind of job? Your mindset, just like how you are outside of work, like what kind of impact does that have on you?
It's a profound impact. You're spending 8 to 16 hours in an environment that everything's negative. You are looking over your shoulder. You're always skeptical of what people are telling you. Hey, Chris, what's your name? And you tell me Bob. Are you sure about that? Let me see your ID card. Even the smallest thing like that makes you very, very skeptical of people. And the PTSD, the post-traumatic syndrome, I think that was probably with me for years. Because when I first got in this business, now I've been out of corrections for 23 years. I left corrections in New York State and came to South Carolina on a whim. I mean, really on a whim, to take a sales job. I went from a very secure pension, secure paycheck. Back then, I think we're probably making at the time 70,000 a year as a lieutenant, and I went down to zero. And when I came down to South Carolina, I went broke like that. I mean, I thought I had it all figured out. I went broke in a matter of 6 months and worked myself back from there. The attitude I came in with was the same attitude you got to have in prison: is I'm the winner. I will win this battle because that's what I need to do to stay alive today. That's what I need you to do, is to, toe the line, follow the rules, and keep on going. And I think I brought that originally into my sales career here. I was selling advertising. And what I found real quick was people don't respond to that. So I started changing, and working on my mindset and my how I talk to people. I'm very high D.
Man, that is a radical shift, by the way, to go from correctional officer, 17 years, to being in sales. Like, what was the light bulb moment that caused you to want to make that kind of career change?
It wasn't a light bulb moment. I've always had a side hustle. Okay. I mean, I was, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was walking ponies around in a ring for $2 a day. And I think a hamburger. Okay. I mean, it was really, it was something I always did. I always wanted to do something else. So even when I was in the prison system, you know what? I had a used car license. I would buy and sell used cars. You needed a license in New York to do that. So I made a little bit extra money there. I wound up repossessing cars at one time back in the 80s, simply because I overheard a conversation. It was always a side hustle. But and again, you see where all that's going? Repossessing, corrections. They're all derogatory things. They're all taking things away from people.
Yeah.
When I came down here, South Carolina, it was win at all costs, pretty much. Win at all costs. And it really didn't feel good. The light bulb came when I realized my leadership. People don't leave companies, they leave leadership. You agree with that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And that's what I had. I had ineffective leadership. Had guys that were positional leaders, and that's all they knew. Do it this way or don't do it at all. Do it this way or you're wrong. And I looked at that, and I watched a couple of my higher up bosses that were good leaders, and I watched them lose their pensions over minor, stupid crap. And I said, Greg, do you really want to put in another 11 or 12 years here and constantly worry about losing that pension? I was already vested. So I just pulled the plug early and came down here to do sales. It wasn't, I like to say, decisions aren't made in a moment. They aren't made in a moment. You've thought about these things for a lot of time before you make a decision. You know what I mean? So that decision, I'll tell you what it was. A buddy of mine had bought a franchise down here, and he called me up January. It was in upstate New York. You know anything about upstate New York?
I lived in Albany for a year.
I actually lived in Cobleskill. Okay. I was in Cobleskill, New York, 35 miles to the southwest. So
miserable place.
Yeah. You know what the snow looks like, right?
Yeah. Got 120 inches the year I went to school.
There you go. And this was January. Dennis called me up and he said, hey, I need some business advice. I said, what do you need, bud? And I was on the phone with him. He goes, no, I want you to come down. I said, where? He said, Charleston, South Carolina. I said, I don't want to go to Charleston, South Carolina. That's like in the South, man. I don't go to the South. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island. I'm upstate New York. So we finally negotiated a little bit. He goes, listen, I'll give you the plane ticket and I'll give you 3 days of golf. Couldn't argue that. So I got came down, we played golf. We took care of his business situation. And this happened for like 5 times in the next, I think 4 or 5 months. Finally, my wife, who was a registered nurse in Albany, okay, she used to commute. She says, what are you doing? I said, honey, I think we're going to move. And she said, Now, mind you, I got 4 kids. One of them's just starting college down in Embry-Riddle down in Florida. Another one was a junior. You know, she was a pretty blonde in a very small high school, you know, where she was like the only pretty blonde. And I'm bringing her down to this school, Wando, that has 2,700 pretty blondes. Well,
Yeah.
that crushes her morale, right? So my wife said, "What if I don't want to go?" I said, "Honey," and this is pretty cool. This was the correction mentality at the time. And needless to say, I've been married 35 plus years since then. But needless to say, I said, "Honey, you don't want to go? You're going to be cold and lonely because I'm going." Okay? That's where the decision was made. And I probably could have done a little bit more planning, and that's always been one of my weaknesses, a little bit more planning. So that was a defining moment.
Shoot the name.
Yep, shoot the name. Shoot the name.
So you moved down to South Carolina. What kind of, that buddy you helped out, was he in real estate, or what kind of franchise was that?
No, actually, it was an advertising franchise.
Okay.
It was a Valpak. You know the blue envelope?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
what, you know, there's something in it for you.
Got it.
So I actually didn't do too bad once I understood the scripts. Those first 6 months were horrible.
So were you helping him? You were helping him sell?
We actually went into business together.
Oh, you went to business together. Okay.
I no longer talk to him. So
Do you think that's a good, while you're, you know, this is just great. So you're in real estate, you understand Valpak. Do you think that Valpak is a good lead generation mechanism for real estate agents?
not at all.
No, not good.
Not at all.
What if you put your call to action on the envelope itself? That way you can, you know, create some separation.
Well, back in the day, I don't know what they're doing anymore. Back in the day, there used to be a window, and that was the high ticket item. If you got in the window, you know, it cost you probably an extra $600 per 10,000. Normally, the person that went in the window were pizza joints, hamburger joints, taco stands, carpet cleaners. We call them rug suckers. Those were the people that went in the envelope. Or the backside, when you opened it, that was also a premium spot. And the reason for that is because those are the things that would get the envelope opened. Mm-hmm. So putting a real estate deal on the front of the envelope, nah, I don't consider it a great deal. I like more of a call to action, you know, response activity. Here it is. Call me. What would you put on the envelope? Sounds like you might have done it once or twice. I know I have.
Yeah, like, you know, your house sold guaranteed or I'll buy it, or a free home valuation, or, right, you know, your home sold in 29 days or I'll sell it for free, you know, something.
So back when I was selling, it was that's a pretty big investment. I mean, 100,000 homes, you got to hit at least 100,000 homes. That back then would be a $3,600 investment per mailing.
Have you had anybody do that?
I actually did it.
You did all 100,000 homes?
Yeah, I actually did it. Had a pretty good offer. I mean, I knew what I had to offer.
What was your call to action?
Yeah, my call to action was, God, I'd have to dig it out now. It wasn't, I'll buy your home. It wasn't that strong. It's a little bit weaker. But any one of those, you can try it. It's $4,000 per month mail out.
So you sound undecided as to if it works or not.
I guess you can say I'm undecided whether it works or not. If somebody's out there using it as a top of mind piece or a direct response piece, I would love to hear about it. So
you're in advertising sales, and it sounds like your partnership fell apart with that guy, with that franchise. Is that what pivoted you into real estate after that?
Heck no, we got more time between then and there.
Okay.
No. I had another buddy, actually, he was one of my first clients in advertising. He owned a Dunkin' Donuts shop, and he was a retired gym teacher from New Jersey. His name is Paul Zem.
Hold on, I got to interrupt you really fast.
Go ahead.
Okay, so up north, New England area, New York, like there's Dunkin' Donuts. There's Dunkin' Donuts in every corner.
Yes.
Why are there so many donut shops in the Northeast compared to like down south?
That's a great question. Now but wait a second, you go to Boynton Beach in Florida, just as many donut shops.
Well, that's because all the people from New England are. What is it about people from New England and donut shops?
I don't know, man. It must be something about the coffee. Must be something about this is how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
You're right, though. Coffee was always,
coffee and donuts.
Albany, Stewart's was another place. We used to meet at
Yeah.
Stewart's, right?
That's the popular convenience store with coffee and donuts.
Best coffee you can find right there. But that's a great question. I don't know. Even now, I mean, we're the home of Krispy Kreme, and
Might be a high population of folks dealing with diabetes up there.
there you go. You got it. I mean, they start them young, man. They just keep shoveling that sugar into their system. Why not?
All right, sorry to interrupt you. So
Oh.
partnership failed, and then go
That
ahead.
partnership failed. Paul Zem, one of my first clients with Dunkin' Donuts, this goes back to persistence and tells a little bit about me. The persistence that I had. I didn't like the little guys. The little guys would pay you, it was a $300, $230 to $300 a month gross, where I might make $46 on them. It took a lot of little guys. So I was an elephant hunter. I'd go after the Dunkin' Donuts, the Applebee's, all these big franchises, and I'd knock them down. I actually had a pretty good track record of it. And Paul was one of those guys. Paul was a Dunkin' Donuts owner, individual. There was only one Dunkin' Donuts back then in Charleston, and Paul was the guy who owned it. I chased him for months. Finally, he said, I got hold of him. He said, listen, you meet me at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning at my Mount Pleasant store that he was just opening up, and I'll give you an interview. And sure as heck, Sunday morning, I'd show up. He doesn't know who I am. But to this day, him and I, he bought for his franchises. Then he sold those. Him and I went into business doing school book fairs. You ever been to Scholastic? Remember when you were a kid, Scholastic would come in?
Yeah.
We did elementary and middle school book fairs along the I-85 corridor in South Carolina, northern Georgia, and western North Carolina. We were pretty much a pimple on Scholastic's butt, but they eventually came to us after 3 years and said, here's a little bit of cash, go away, just go away. And we did. It wasn't a lot of cash, but we successfully dented their business enough. I think the one thing I didn't do there was they offered me a position as a consultant, and I was too short-sighted. I just wanted to get out of the business. I was too short-sighted to say how much. How much? Friend of mine, same thing happened to him, and they paid him $250 for the year.
You sound like an incredibly financially driven guy.
You know what? You would think I'd have Maseratis sitting in my garage. I like to give it away. Okay.
When you reflect back on your career, what do you think was the driver for you always having side hustles, trying to make more? Like what was the motivation? What's the why? I mean, even to this day, why aren't you sitting on a beach in Florida?
Exactly. Right. I asked myself, my wife has been retired for 8 years.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, she's home baking cookies right now.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't sit still. I can't. There's always something going in my mind. There's a better way. There's a better mousetrap out there. I enjoy helping people, and I really do. I put my heart and soul into it. It's my passion. I can't put it in words, actually.
So now are you trying to help, you're trying to help agents. You're trying to help coach agents up and share with them the decades of experience you have in sales, crushing it for all kinds of different organizations.
Yep. I think the biggest thing that I see right now, Chris, is anybody can sell a house. Not hard selling a house. It's hard going from an entrepreneur to somebody that's purposeful to do this every day, to get bored. You know what? You give me 2 hours a day, and I'm going to make you a successful agent. I believe that the solo agent, we've had this big push, right? Especially with Keller's book. Everybody's got to have a team. Everybody's got to be, the millionaire real estate agent. I don't think that's true. I think there's just a lot of people out there that want a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 job, but they don't want to work for anybody. I mean, you ask any real estate agent, and I've asked many, why real estate? Why'd you go into the business? I wanted to be my own boss. Right? I mean, isn't that the normal answer?
Sure.
I want to be my own
Freedom.
boss.
Flexibility.
I want to be, these kids, these people are spending 70, 80 hours working in a job. I don't spend 70, 80 hours anymore. I might spend 20. Mostly listings, mostly people that I know, and it's about building that, and that's what I want to teach them.
I want to ask you a question. So when I think about the career trajectory path of an agent, and this is a very skills-based business.
Yes.
The skills you have to develop is number one, inside sales, being good on the phone to book appointments. Number two, you got to get people that are total strangers that you probably never met before to commit to working with you face to face. And then three, you've got to be a market expert, understand how to navigate escrow, mortgage, inspections, et cetera. And so when I think about that career trajectory path, that's very steep. It's a very steep curve to learn. And so my question for you is, what can you do to shorten that curve or shorten that steep learning curve? What do you do to make it, how do you flatten it out?
How do you flatten it out? I think, like you said, it's a very steep curve. You got to know your scripts. That's basic. You got to know your scripts. I'm pretty good at scripts. I know those scripts very well. That's the core skill. The second part, I don't agree with you so much. I think that the telephone calling is dead, right? You can't get enough numbers. You're going to sit on the phone for hours upon hours. I am more based on the person that goes out and understands the conversations. When you and I are having a conversation, my superpower is to walk into a room and find the guy that's standing in the corner that doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I'm going to go over there, and by the end of the night, I'm going to know who he is, what he does, and I'm going to find out what his real estate conversation is. I believe that everybody has a real estate conversation in their head. It's just that nobody's asked them about it. And I believe that you can build a business out of that relationship, because this is a relationship business, correct? Yeah. Now, go ahead. I see you.
Yeah. So you were saying the phone is dead. What do you do like when you get an inbound lead via email or whatever?
That's all scripts, right? That's LP Mama or Ford, whatever you want to do that. Yeah. That's an easy one to teach. What do you do when you get an inbound lead? I do some. I don't do Zillow. I don't do Realtor. I don't do Trillia. CRT is dead to me. I think Zillow, of course, has lied to us for years and said, oh, no, we're not going to do a brokerage. All they were doing for all those years was interviewing the best agents, and those agents were paying to play. Now they're taking those agents out and they're putting them into their brokerages and saying, you know what, we're going to give you X amount of dollars. It's going to be a $40,000 a year job somewhere down the road, right? You're going to be very compartmentalized. You're going to be an ISA. Nothing wrong with ISAs, but I dare say that they're an average ISA making 30 to 40,000 a year, right? What I believe is that the solo agent has got to get the skill of having a conversation. Just look at COVID. During COVID, we did care calls on my database, right? Just doing care calls on your database. And you're talking to people and you have to recognize that signal. Hey, Susie Homemaker, how you doing? Oh my God, the kids are driving me crazy. This place isn't big enough. Really? What would it look like if the place was big enough? If you did have a special room for that kid? That's a conversation that we have to identify. And I think the curve might be flattened just a bit because a lot of people are afraid of phones. Do you agree?
A lot of people are. Most people are.
Most people are afraid of phones. My focus is let's get you understanding what the conversation, the buying signals, the selling signals that you have to listen to in every conversation you have throughout the day. You follow me on that?
Sure. Do you think the solo agent, right, that's like the jack of all trades, they are going to be able to survive the disruption going on in the industry and make 50, 60, 70,000 working a very flexible schedule, 20 hours a week? Do you think they'll be able to survive?
I believe they will. Because if they integrate those conversations into their daily life, now you have to get out of your house. There's no doubt about this. You've got to get out of your house and meet people. You got to join a club. You got to go golfing. You got to be a mom with this or a grandparent with that. Go to your gym. You've got to network. I believe a networking agent is going to do $100,000 a year.
But what if the value proposition of these disruptors is so great that the agent that does this through networking, for example, the consumer would never think of using because that individual agent could never offer a value proposition that strong?
I think that's a fallacy. I think it's a herd mentality. And here's why. Remember I told you I went broke 24 years ago? Mm-hmm. Next thing I did is I went back to my car business. And I went to the Toyota dealership and I got a job as a salesperson. Once again, I rose to the top really quick. I was selling 20 to 25 cars a month. It was at the same time that the disruption of the internet was coming into being, and people were starting to buy cars off the internet.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
You remember that? I don't know if you do
Yeah.
or not.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Okay. People were starting to buy cars off the internet. I'll tell you what, that was 25 years ago. Today, the best car salesmen, the people that are making the most money are the guys that have been sitting in that front office with their database, calling that database every Christmas, jingling, hey, it's Greg. Hey, it's Greg. They are still the mainstay of the car business. Okay. They didn't go away. And I think the same thing's going to happen with real estate agents. Internet is a big disruptor.
I disagree with you though. Like the car is very much like a commodity, and the transaction of a car purchase is far less complex than a car purchase. And so, like, I guess as an example, right, you've got these big iBuyers, Zillow, Redfin, Open Door, and their convenience fee on what they pay is going down. Like every month, that convenience fee to the consumer is going down. And so, like, for example, what happens when the iBuyer's convenience fee is significantly less than what the broker charges, and the value that they offer is on par with what an agent would get them?
You can disagree. I'll disagree with you because it's not all about the money. It's not all about the money. The guy who has a $500,000 house wants to talk to somebody. The guy who has $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million house, he's going to pay whatever you're charging if your value is enough. And that comes through the training, that comes through the knowledge and knowing what's happening in the community. You can have iBuyers all day long, but they don't know the Isle of Palms like I do. I disagree. I disagree. The value is going to be in the person, not the system.
They're centralizing their local agent reps in a centralized place to have those phone conversations with consumers, and all the externalities you're talking about with communities, like externalities, right? Like unique things, they're all being programmed into their database, and they're using machine learning and AI to be able to more precisely value properties using all the externalities that we're taking into account for pricing.
I don't say it's going to be a failure. Okay, don't say it's going to be a failure, because it will work for even if it worked for 50% of the people. There's still room for a solo agent out there. There's still room for a solo agent to make a living with a smaller group as 150 people. Right, that's a tribe. You got your tribe, and if you're in that tribe and you got the influence in that tribe, you will win those people away from any kind of AI or technology-based person. It's, to me, I agree with what you're saying there, but I think there's still room for a solo agent to make a living in this business.
Yeah. Well, the thing I think we can both agree on is trust supersedes everything.
No, like and trust me.
Yeah.
No, like and trust me. And I don't care who you are, how much money you save. I mean, I'm not shy about asking for big money. I'm not shy about it. I hardly ever back down off a commission because I know what my value is. And I've said goodbye to some good deals. But I'll tell you, they're never the people that know, like, and trust me. They
Greg,
never.
For anybody that wants to learn more about this new coaching company you're starting, where can they read more, learn more, reach out to you?
You can go to poweronwardmastermind.com. Okay. It's set up as a group coaching, normally $99.95. Right now, I think we're doing it for $39.95, starting up on January 4th. So that $39 introductory is going to be good for the year. And you're going to get 10 hours worth of coaching and anything else I have. I believe that there's nothing in real estate that's not already free on the web. You agree with that?
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I mean, I follow guys like Heil and Glover and, Lars. I've taken all those trainings. Mm-hmm. I understand them. I know them, and they're great people. They're great people. This is more one-on-one. Learn to use your database, stay into your database, and you're going to make a living. From there, we've got some mastermind levels and then some single coaching and strategizing, consulting on top of it.
Cool. Well, great. Greg, thank you so much for being on. Your story is quite incredible. I'd love to just sit down with you and learn more about that time you spent as a correctional officer, because I can't even imagine the ahas you had doing that. But for anybody that's tuning in right now, be sure to check Greg out online. It sounds, I can tell, Greg, you've got some amazing chops when it comes to sales, developing trust, and you've had an extremely successful career. I appreciate you being on CEO Secrets. And for everybody listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're on iTunes or YouTube, and be sure to tune in next time. Bye, everybody.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Chris.